What is going on, you guys? This is the Q-Bone here. And as you can clearly see, I am wearing teal and black like a Duval cat. That must mean I'm here to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another installment of the Teal and Black Review and Preview Show. If you're not familiar with what this show is, allow me to explain it to you. In this video, I'm going to be recapping the previous game for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Week 3 against the Los Angeles Chargers. And then afterwards, I will preview their next week's opponent, the Philadelphia Eagles. Without further ado, let's begin. Actually, before I do start this video, I want to say thank you to everyone who has subscribed so far. I just recently hit 50 subscribers on this channel. Thank you. I can't express that enough. And here's to hopefully getting another 50 by the end of the season. So now let's get on to the meat and potatoes of the video. So before we actually talk about the Week 4 matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles, let's go ahead and talk about what happened last week in Week 3. So let's wind the clock back a little bit, as I always like to say. And in Week 3, the Jacksonville Jaguars flew out to Los Angeles to play the Chargers, and they, shockingly, pun intended, I suppose, the Jacksonville Jaguars won 38-10 against the Los Angeles Chargers. This snaps an 18-game road losing streak, I believe it was. It was the first road win for the Jacksonville Jaguars in 3 years, and one of the, if not the most impressive win on the West Coast for the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is something that they've actually struggled with since I've been following this team for a good 10 years now. They haven't been a very good team on the West Coast, so seeing them get this win against the Chargers really helps, to put it in the players' terms, the Jaguars players anyway, builds confidence in this team. I feel more confident in this team now, knowing that they can actually go out on the road to places like Los Angeles and get a win against a team that they're expected to lose to. I thought they were going to lose this game. Shoot. If you've been following me on this channel so far, I have been 0-3 on the season thus far at picking games for the Jaguars. I thought they were going to win against the Commanders. They lost. I thought they were going to lose against the Colts and Chargers. Well, they won those games. So either way, now let's go ahead and talk about my 3 takeaways from this game. The first takeaway I have is quite literally copy and paste from last week. Every single positive that I mentioned about the Jaguars against the Colts can be said the exact same way of how they played against the Chargers. They were dominant on defense. They didn't allow a lot of rushing yards. The defense got a lot of turnovers. They got another tip pass interception by Devin Lloyd. I'll get to him in just a moment. Dewan Smoot got a strip sack in the first half that set up great field position. They are still number 1 in the league in turnover differential. Now it is at +7. And they're also still tied for first in the league, this time with the Baltimore Ravens, with the most interceptions in the league. And not only that, but this offense was extremely effective in this game. Christian Kirk had another 6 receptions for 72 yards and a touchdown. Trevor Lawrence had 3 touchdowns in this game. The first time he's had 3 touchdowns since week 1 of his rookie season. He also threw for 262 yards. James Robinson, another great day for him. 17 carries, 100 yards, and 1 50-yard touchdown. That now is his career-long touchdown run. Another top performer in this game was Zay Jones with 10 catches for 85 yards and a touchdown. He was extremely productive today for the Jaguars offensively. Also, the Jacksonville Jaguars, just like against the Colts, did not give up a single sack. Give credit to Doug Pederson. Give credit to this offensive line that's been balling out this season. They've made it very comfortable for Trevor Lawrence to make plays in this offense. If there is one criticism I do have with the Jaguars in this game, it's that the offense had 4 red zone opportunities in the first half of the game and only came away with 1 touchdown. Ideally, you want to score touchdowns on all of your red zone opportunities. If you're getting into the red zone that many times in the first half, you need to come away with more than just 1 touchdown. That score right there that says 38-10 could have easily been 50-10 had they scored touchdowns on those additional red zone opportunities. With that being said, though, this offense was extremely effective in the second half. Every time they had the ball, they put up points on the board in the second half. Every single time they had the ball, they only punted once in this game. Did you know that? Do you know how amazing that is for me as a Jaguars fan who's so used to seeing this team getting 3 and outs and short drives, not getting a chance to put points on the board, constantly sending out Logan Cook to punt the football back to the other team. It's so refreshing. It's so amazing to finally see a game where Logan Cook only had 1 punt. Only 1 punt. Now let's go ahead and talk about my second takeaway from this game. Devin Lloyd, Defensive Rookie of the Year. It sure seems that way. I know it's early in the season. We're only 3 games in. But Devin Lloyd, especially considering the fact that he didn't really get to play in the preseason due to a hamstring injury, he's really impressed me thus far this season. He's gotten 2 interceptions so far, albeit they were tipped passes and he was just at the right place at the right time. But he's also gotten 6 pass breakups in the last 2 games. There was a play in this game in particular. I believe he was covering either a tight end or a receiver downfield. The receiver gets the ball in his hands and he's about to come down with it, and all of a sudden, in between, comes Devin Lloyd's arm and just pops the ball out of the hand before he can actually come down with the ball and make a clean catch. That's the type of playmaker we need at the linebacker position. That's the type of playmaker we haven't had in the linebacker position for years. If he continues to play like the way he has thus far, he is easily going to be the Defensive Rookie of the Year. The only guy that I could think of as of right now that might be in the running is Aiden Hutchinson. That was the 2nd overall pick by the Detroit Lions, the defensive end out of Michigan. But if I had to choose a Defensive Rookie of the Year right now, it would be Devin Lloyd. And I'm not being biased because I'm a Jaguars fan. I do believe Devin Lloyd's going to get that award when it's all said and done. And the third and final takeaway that I have from this game between the Jaguars and Chargers is, man, the Chargers were just flat out injured. They were just injured going into the game, during the game. I mean, it wasn't just Justin Herbert. Obviously, Justin Herbert, the star quarterback, the superstar quarterback for the Chargers, had that rib cartilage injury, that he sustained against the Kansas City Chiefs on Thursday Night Football. There were questions whether he was going to play the game or not. He did get an injection in the chest, a painkiller. Fortunately, it did not puncture his lung like Tyrod Taylor did a couple years ago, but he still played in the game. He had 297 yards passing for a touchdown and an interception. And even injured, he was still like a rock star for this offense. There was one pass in particular I remember in the 3rd quarter, I believe it was. Josh Allen for the Jaguars is like draped all over him. Herbert off angle throws a beautiful dime like 50 plus yards down the field. Easily the best offensive play for the Chargers in that game. And I'm just sitting there, when I rewatched the game, and I just saw that play, and I'm like, oh my God. But it wasn't just Justin Herbert that was injured for this game. I mean, J.C. Jackson, their free agent corner that they signed from New England, was doubtful and didn't play. Their starting center, doubtful, didn't play in the game. Keenan Allen still out with that hamstring injury. He missed last week against the Chiefs on Thursday Night Football. And then during the game, they were just keep getting injured. They were dropping like flies. I swear to God. Joey Bosa wound up leaving the game. He has like a groin injury and is indefinitely sidelined from the last time I saw it, which, damn, that's a huge loss for the Chargers. Rashawn Slater, or Rashawn Slater, however you want to pronounce his name, their star left tackle that they drafted in the first round last year in 2021, he left the game early with an injury, which really, man, you can tell that they missed him on that offensive line. Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, they were having a field day. They didn't get to the quarterback in this game. Only DeJuan Smoot got to him. Granted, he forced a fumble. But, man, you can tell that Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker were just like, ooh, we're going to lick our chops. We're going to get this guy. We're going to make those ribs. Baby back ribs, if you get my drift. And now, folks, we have reached to the point of the video where we talk about the AFC South Roundup. If you're not familiar with what this part of the video is for, this is where I just basically discuss all the other teams in the AFC South, along with the Jaguars, where they're ranking right now, who's on the top of the division, the bottom of the division, how they played last week, who they play next week, all that kind of good stuff. And sitting at the top of the division with a 2-1 record is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Once again, we're looking down at everybody else in the division. Sitting at second place in the AFC South is the Indianapolis Colts, getting a much-needed win here against the Kansas City Chiefs to improve their record to 1-1-1. And speaking of getting a much-needed win, in third place, the Tennessee Titans, getting a win over the Las Vegas Raiders. The Colts and the Titans will be playing against each other in Week 4, so I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye out for this game, because should the Jacksonville Jaguars lose next week to the Philadelphia Eagles and a team like the Colts come out with a victory, they will be the team sitting at the top of the division because, well, they have a tie on their record. That's better than a loss. And finally, sitting at the bottom of the AFC South is the Houston Texans, coming off a loss against the Chicago Bears. Still the only team in the AFC South not to come away with a win just yet, sitting with a record of 0-2-1. And I feel bad because the Houston Texans, I feel like, are a team that's very well coached. They just don't have the talent to win the games that they've been playing, and really the games that they should have won. They could have easily been 3-0 the way they were playing. They were leading against the Colts in Week 1. They blew it. They were leading against the Denver Broncos, 9-6. They blew it. And they had an opportunity to drive the football down the field with a minute left on the clock to kick a game-winning field goal. And they blew it. So they are actually going to be playing against these Los Angeles Chargers that the Jaguars just played. Maybe they'll be able to get off the losing streak, or the winless streak, I should say, because the Chargers are so injured, but we'll have to wait and see. That's your AFC South roundup for you guys. Like I just mentioned, Jacksonville still looking down on everybody else after 3 weeks. So let's go ahead and talk about the Week 4 matchup for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Once again, for the third time this season already, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are currently 2-1, are on the road going to Doug Pederson's old stomping grounds in Philadelphia to face the 3-0 undefeated Eagles. The first thing I want to highlight about the Philadelphia Eagles is that through the first 3 weeks of the season, they have been one of the most efficient offenses in the league. Let me give you a couple stats for you just to know what exactly the Jaguars are going up against. Currently, they are ranked number 1 in total yards, number 3 in passing, number 6 in rushing, and number 5 in points. And don't forget, last year, the Eagles were the best running offense in the league. So they're very dynamic offensively. And one of the reasons they are so dynamic is their quarterback, Jalen Hurts. He had 340 yards passing with 3 touchdowns. He only had 9 carries for 20 yards, so that's not really something to really highlight too much for this game. However, week 2, Monday Night Football against the Minnesota Vikings, he did have 2 rushing touchdowns against them. So obviously, Jalen Hurts, known as a dual threat quarterback, you got to factor in both his ability to not just run the football, but you also now have to respect the fact that he has the ability to throw the football, because if you look at some of the weapons that he has to work with, he has A.J. Brown, former Tennessee Titan receiver, picking up his level of production right where he left off in Tennessee. I'm still baffled how Tennessee decided to trade him to Philadelphia. I don't know why they really did it. They should have just paid him his money. Devontae Smith, a former Heisman Trophy winner, extremely fast, has elite speed, and balled out last week against the Commanders. Had a great catch on the goal line. I believe it was like a deep pass from Jalen Hurts, and he climbs the ladder. You know what I mean, that imaginary ladder over the defender, or 2 defenders actually. It was against 2 defenders, and makes a beautiful catch to set them up for a touchdown on the next couple plays. And it's not just those 2 receivers that the Jaguars have to deal with. They also have Dallas Goedert at tight end, very productive tight end, one of the better pass-catching tight ends in the league. And they also have Miles Sanders, a very underrated running back. Not an elite running back, but solid. A team would always want to have a guy like Miles Sanders on their roster. So I mentioned last week in my previous video, when talking about the Los Angeles Chargers, that I thought that game was going to be the true test to see how well this defense actually is for Jacksonville. Well, they're going to have another really good test this week against the Philadelphia Eagles. A couple more players I want to highlight before I move on to my keys to victory. First and foremost, Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham on that defensive line. Last week, the Philadelphia Eagles had 9 sacks. Regardless of whether or not that was actually a 1-week performance by that defensive front, even still, as I was told by a good buddy of mine, Louis T., they were getting sacks by just sitting 4, by not blitzing, which that is something to be concerned with. Another player that I do want to highlight is James Bradberry. He is the former New York Giants corner that the Eagles acquired in the offseason. He's one of the better corners in the league. I imagine he's going to be all over Christian Kirk in this game. He's going to follow him, pun intended, like an eagle. So let's now talk about the keys to victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Philadelphia Eagles if they want to have another upset road victory like they did against the Chargers. This is what I think they'll have to do against the Eagles. First and foremost, the Jacksonville Jaguars offensive line versus this Philadelphia Eagles defensive line. Plain and simple. The Jacksonville Jaguars have only given up 2 sacks on the season. That's tied for league best. The Philadelphia Eagles currently have 12 sacks this season. League best. They're going to be going after each other. And if Doug Pederson's going to have a really, really good game plan to make sure that the Eagles don't have a repeat performance like they did last week against the Commanders, this upcoming week against the Jaguars. The second key to victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars is they have to try to contain Jalen Hurts. Not only make him irrelevant in the run game, but they have to make sure that he doesn't have time to make his throws in the pass game. They have to get sacks on the quarterback this game. Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, Dwan Smoot, Ardeen Key, they all have to be playing at their absolute best in this game. One more thing I didn't mention yet about Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts usually has this sort of rep in the NFL where he'll play really well one week and then the next week he stinks it up. One week he'll look like he's the long-term answer at quarterback. The next week he'll make you think you need to draft another quarterback. And to his credit, he's played very, very well this season. I would argue a front runner for league MVP. That's how impressive he's been. But, like I said earlier, he's played against teams that don't play defense. So, let's see how he actually plays against the Jaguars defense, a defense that I have a lot of high expectations with. Let's see if the Jaguars defense can make Jalen Hurts flat out uncomfortable throughout this game. And my last key to victory is to play keep away on offense. So there was a drive in the fourth quarter of this Jaguars-Chargers game where the Jaguars had the ball for a whopping 9 minutes in the fourth quarter. They need to keep doing that. They need to make sure that this high-powered, high-octane offense stays off the field. And not only that, if you keep the Eagles' offense off the field and you, as the Jaguars, offensively, keep the football and stay on the field, that defense that I have high hopes for stays refreshed. They're not tuckered out. They can continue to make their big plays. If they play keep away on offense, having 6, 7, 8, 9-minute drives like they did against the Chargers and control the time of possession, it'll go a long way of making sure that they indeed win this game. And now we have reached the point of the video where I will give you guys my prediction of who I think is going to win this game between the Jaguars and the Eagles. I'm going to go with what my gut is telling me, and I'm going to go with the Jaguars. I think this Jaguars team is built defensively to stop this Eagles offense, and I think Doug Pederson is going to continue to scheme open his receivers, make it easier for Trevor Lawrence to make throws, and also, while the Philadelphia Eagles are one of the better defenses in the league, one area they're not superb at is stopping the run. And Jacksonville has a handful of really good running backs, James Robinson, Travis Etienne, that I think will have a big impact in this game. So I'm going to take the Jaguars over the Eagles in this game by a score of 26-20. And folks, we have finally reached the end of the video. Once again, I want to thank to all the 50 people who have subscribed to me thus far. Can't thank you guys enough. Don't forget to like the video, guys. Comment down below. And if you haven't subscribed already, click that subscribe button for more Jaguars content. This is the Cubone signing off, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.